I think Biden's in an excellent position to win this election. But I think we have got to do more as a campaign than just go after Trump. Trump is a disaster. I think most people know it. But we also have to give people a reason to vote for Joe Biden. And Joe has some pretty strong positions on the economy. And I think we should be talking about that more than we have. Now, we have done, Ali, 8 battleground states virtual rallies, talking to, several million people. And I think what people want to hear is what Joe is going to do to raise the minimum wage. And he supports a $15 an hour minimum wage. What he's going to do to make sure that we create millions of good paying jobs in this country. And he has a very strong plan for the infrastructure. He knows that we can create jobs combating climate change, which God knows we need to do, seeing what's going on in the West Coast right now. They want equal pay for equal work. They want us to expand health care to as many people as possible, lower the cost of prescription drugs. I think those are some of the issues that people want to hear a little bit more from the Biden campaign about.
That was Bernie Sanders earlier today with Ali Velshi on MSNBC, responding to yesterday's Washington Post article that basically reported Bernie was concerned with Biden's campaign. Now, in this interview, he plays those concerns down a little bit, but he does make it clear he feels Biden's making a mistake by not going beyond criticism of Trump. Basically, Bernie says, you can't just run a purely negative campaign. You have to offer voters something positive. And one of the opportunities Biden still has in this election is to give people more reasons to vote for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris instead of just against Donald Trump and Mike Pence. And Bernie gives some examples. Why isn't he talking about wage increases? Why isn't he talking about environmental policies? Why isn't he talking about healthcare? Why isn't he talking about pay equity? Why isn't he talking about racial equity? Why isn't he talking about any of these things really? Instead, he's just focusing on Donald Trump being bad. And I think Bernie's right in trying to raise these issues because I think that a lot of people know Donald Trump is bad. And there's no reason you shouldn't point that out. I spent time on this channel pointing it out. But there's a diminishing return to article after article, speech after speech, ad after ad saying Trump is bad. I think at some point you've reached all the people you're going to reach with that line of attack, and then it's not going to have very much of an effect anymore. Put another way, I think a lot of the moderate Republicans that would be swayed by an ad pointing out Trump's failures have largely been taken by the Democrats. I don't know how many more people there are to be gained there. They already started gaining those people in 2018, specifically, university-educated, college-educated white women. They started moving over to the Democrats away from Donald Trump. And I think that a lot of those people, because Biden is something of a moderate and because of their distaste for Trump, are with him, at least for this election. Maybe they'll go back to the Republicans if they pick a non-Trumpian candidate, but that's a problem for another day. But Biden still has a lot of people out there that aren't enthusiastic. And I really worry about the enthusiasm gap. I really do. In a normal election, yes, but especially in this one, where Donald Trump is trying to make it as hard to vote as possible, knowing that his people will climb over nails and broken glass to vote, but Democrats, maybe they won't as much, especially when their identity is driven from voting against something than voting for it. We've seen all sorts of polls that show that the majority of the Trump base is voting for him. The majority of the Biden base is voting against Trump. Now, Biden has more voters. He has a bigger pool. And I think that, if the polls are right, he's going to win the election. But there is a worry that when people are simply doing something out of opposition, they're less inclined to do the hard work to get their guy elected. That's my view anyway. And I think that if Biden could even just lean a little bit more into public option, into, tax increases on the wealthy, into environmental policies that maybe don't go all the way, but that are certainly an improvement over Trump. I think that from a purely political standpoint, again, I don't think Biden's policies are nearly enough, and I don't think they solve the fundamental issues. But if I'm advising him politically, I think there's a lot of gains to be made in energizing progressives, young people, Latinos, with these policies that he isn't doing right now. And Bernie is giving 100% sage advice. And yesterday on social media, there was such a hatred for Bernie Sanders from the Biden-Harris camp. How dare he privately, politely express rational concern about the direction of the campaign? They were couching it as Bernie was trying to ruin Biden-Harris, but I think he's trying to help. I think Bernie and a lot of progressives like myself are trying to help because we don't want to see Donald Trump remain as president either. So we're giving some advice. And we have to remember that this narrative that Bernie lost so his opinion is irrelevant is totally false because, one, Bernie had a large degree of support in the Democratic primary. He succeeded with the groups that Biden is currently struggling with, young people, Latinos, progressives. So maybe Bernie has some advice about how to reach those people that Biden hasn't either tapped into or won't tap into. And finally, we have to remember that while Biden did, get more votes and get more, delegates, in exit poll after exit poll, people wanted the Bernie Sanders vision on Medicare for all, the Green New Deal, and so many other policies. They wanted Bernie's policies, but they felt, accurate or not, that Biden had to be the nominee to stop Donald Trump. So Bernie knows the pulse of progressive voters. He knows them. And I think Biden has to heed that. Now, yesterday I noted that this might not be an accident by Biden, that Biden is ignoring these things because once he's president, he wants to shelve even his moderate progressive promises. But if we can assume for a second that Biden is just making an error right now, he has time to fix it, and there's nothing wrong with Bernie and company pointing it out.